What's up guys, I am on the 8mm f3.5 from Fuji. We're on the XM5. So this kind of lens would be great for like interior real estate stuff. It makes everything look bigger. So like it made the trampoline look bigger, makes your shoulders look bigger, it makes everything look like huge. That is a massive field of view, 8mm. All right, so here is the Sigma 10 to 18 versus the Fuji 8mm. The 10 to 18 is slightly bigger, but I don't think you're actually gonna notice the difference on the camera between these two unless you take the lens hood off, because they are very similar in size. Now, the 10 to 18 does extend just a little bit, and if you extend it to 8 to 10, it extends to 10. It's a little bit bigger, but at 18, it's fairly compact, and they're both pretty light. This is weather sealed. This is weather sealed at the mount. About the same price used. And I've got this little Comica mic on top. So I would say this is probably a vlogging lens, so I guess the real test is to kind of walk around with it. I'm going to be comparing this to the 10 to 18 from Sigma, so that's actually coming today, and maybe we'll do some skateboarding with it. I'm super overexposed. That's the thing about crop sensors. Not as much dynamic range as you would get on like a full frame camera. I look so huge. I'm not actually that huge if I use a normal lens, but it kind of makes me look a lot bigger and thicker than I am. Yeah, because I've gotten down pretty low skating. Woo. If you put at different angles, you're like distorted in different ways. So yeah, you kind of have to be in the shade with Fuji. Looks pretty good in the shade. Now we're in Reala Ace. I've heard some people say that Reala Ace is the most accurate skin tones with Fuji. What do you guys think? It's a little pinker, a little more red introduced in there. I'm a little bit disappointed with the dynamic range in this camera. Everything's like auto right now, but its aperture priority is 3.5. So blown out. I guess I could turn the exposure compensation down. All right, we turn the exposure compensation down. It's so contrasty. Do I always look this contrasty in Fuji? Now it's so dark. Turn the exposure compensation back up. How does that look for just talking head type shots? With a really wide lens like this, I like to kind of be at an angle, but this is just so big. Like, I don't have any muscle. I don't lift weights at all. Look at my arm. I'm a skateboarder. I'm actually kind of thin. That is crazy distortion. If you were like a bodybuilding channel or something, this would be the perfect lens. Look at that. Look at that arm. This looks ridiculous. So I'm actually going to do some trampoline skating with this lens and hold it kind of like I would a cell phone. Now the cell phone's super stable for this kind of thing. I don't know how this lens is going to do. I actually think it looks better than my phone does for the tramp skating. It's kind of hard to do flip tricks while holding this camera though. This camera's a lot bigger than the phone. But other than that, I mean, I do make money skateboarding, so I should be able to do some flip tricks. I found you can't really hold the XM5 by the grip. You have to kind of hold the lens when you're doing this kind of thing, because you will drop it jumping on the trampoline. And so there's a lot of distortion here. This is the Fuji XM5 with the 8mm at 3.5. So this is what it sounds like with no mic. It's a little bit windy now. The wind's picked up a little bit since the last shot. It's hard to get the shadow out. This thing is so distorted. Like, oh man, it's so wide. We've got image stabilization on too. So it's cropping in a little bit. This is even wider. This would be good for a bodybuilder channel because I'm actually not very big, but I look massive. There's something nice about those ultra wide lenses. The autofocus motor, you can't hear it because there's like nothing moving. It's like everything's in focus. It's almost impossible to get something out of focus. It's almost like a macro lens. Alright, so obviously this isn't a macro lens, but I mean, I'm basically touching it almost. Pretty close. Honestly, since the aperture is so small, I would probably actually go with the iPhone wide angle lens over this because it is pretty expensive. What do you guys think? Do you think this is worth it? No, for vlogging and stuff like that, it's not worth it. If you do landscape photography with this lens and you need something weather sealed, it's probably worth it, but for vlogging, definitely not. All right, so now we've got double mics right here. When I bought this mic, I honestly didn't know that it was 2 mics. So it's 2 and it connects into one 3.5 millimeter jack.